Have you ever taken a moment to consider how spending many years alone can shape your perception of the world? Whether by personal choice or life's unexpected turns, going a long time without a romantic partner changes not only how we relate to ourselves, but also how we interact with others. Some of those changes are incredibly empowering. They bring strength, clarity, and emotional resilience. Others, however, can quietly interfere when we finally feel ready to try again. Is the independence you've built over the years helping or hindering your chances at a relationship? And why does it often feel so hard to let someone into your life, even when that's what you want? The answer may lie in subtle habits formed over time. The freedom to live authentically is a gift, but it can also create barriers where bridges used to be. Let's explore this together, and by the end, reflect on how to hold on to that freedom without shutting the door on what's still possible. When you've lived alone for a long while, you're used to making decisions on your own, building a routine around your preferences, and solving problems with your own strength. That kind of growth is powerful. It builds self-trust. But over time, that same structure can become unyielding. The idea of sharing space, adjusting schedules, or compromising on small things can feel more like disruption than connection. Take Lucia, for example, now 67. After over 2 decades on her own, she created a life so carefully arranged that any attempt to introduce someone new felt like a threat to her balance. Her friend Teresa, also in her 60s, lived differently. Independent, yes, but always willing to shift a few pieces around if someone meaningful came along. One had armored herself against change. The other left room for what might come. Being self-reliant is admirable, but when there's no flexibility, it can quietly become a wall. Healthy relationships ask for equilibrium, the ability to stay grounded in who you are, while also allowing another person to walk beside you. Choosing to live alone is beautiful. Being open to love, when it feels right, can be just as life-changing. When balance is found between independence and intimacy, you don't lose yourself. You evolve with someone who adds to your life. But there's another obstacle many women encounter after years on their own: difficulty being emotionally open. The longer you go without romantic connection, the more normal it feels to carry everything on your own. Your feelings, your doubts, your joys. Without someone who consistently checks in, truly listens, or provides comfort in fragile moments, a quiet form of self-protection develops. Over time, that protection hardens, and being vulnerable starts to feel unnatural, maybe even uncomfortable. Emotional expression is something we learn over time. In a caring relationship, there's room to voice fears, ask for help, and show your more tender side. But after years of solitude, this kind of sharing stops feeling intuitive. Simple phrases like "I missed you" or "I need you right now" can feel awkward or even unsafe to say. Sometimes, a person convinces herself that she no longer needs that kind of bond, when really, she's just unpracticed. Even the most self-sufficient women carry within them a desire for genuine closeness. But letting someone see that side takes courage. And courage, in this case, isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing to be emotionally visible. Because the more we avoid revealing how we feel, the harder it becomes to form something meaningful. Picture 2 women who've been single for many years. One, though cautious, still shares her thoughts and emotions, even if it feels awkward at first. The other has built up invisible walls. She keeps everything inside and no longer knows how to express what she feels. Which one do you believe will have an easier time forming a sincere bond? This isn't about forcing connection with just anyone. It's about realizing that if you long for something deeper, you'll need to allow yourself to be truly seen. Vulnerability doesn't weaken. It deepens. It gives relationships meaning and allows someone to know you for who you are. And the more you practice it, the more natural and comforting it becomes. Over the years, solo living shapes routines so tightly to your rhythm that the idea of a relationship can feel less like an opportunity and more like a disruption. In a shared life, adjustments are inevitable, aligning routines, compromising on plans, and building mutual understanding. But when you've lived alone for a long time, you stop needing anyone else's input. You eat what you like, sleep when you want, keep the house exactly how you prefer, and fill your days as you please. This freedom is satisfying, no doubt. Yet, it can also quietly create resistance. Without realizing it, we become less willing to bend, less likely to welcome someone who might shake up the routine. Even minor things, the placement of a chair, what time to have coffee, or what show to watch, become so set that change feels intrusive. And when that happens, love begins to feel more like a disruption than a gift. Some women even start to see another's presence as a threat to the peace they've worked so hard to create. It's an understandable mindset, but one that can stop something wonderful before it starts. That doesn't mean giving up your way of life or changing your identity. A well-formed sense of self is a treasure. Still, it's worth remembering that connection requires a bit of give. A heart that won't budge, even slightly, will struggle to form lasting ties. Think of two women who've been living alone for years. One holds her structure firm, but is open to small adjustments for someone worthwhile. The other has grown so fixed in her patterns that even gentle shifts feel threatening. Who do you think is more likely to sustain a fulfilling relationship? The secret lies in balance. Keep what nurtures you, but don't close yourself off from what could also bring joy. The habits you've built should be a foundation, not a wall. Because when you're willing to share your world, you don't give up your freedom. You gain a presence that adds meaning without taking anything away. After spending many years on your own, you come to understand exactly what you want, and what you no longer tolerate. This clarity is the result of time, past experiences, and deep reflection on what truly matters in a relationship. Boundaries become clearer, desires more defined. But there's a delicate aspect to this. When your standards grow too strict, they may end up pushing away even those who have real potential to enrich your life. Think back to how relationships felt when you were younger. There was more openness, more curiosity, and a greater willingness to learn about the other person. But after a long stretch of being alone, it's easy to expect someone to blend into your life seamlessly. No mess, no mistakes, no effort. Patience wears thin, and things that once seemed minor now become reasons to walk away. And it's not only about the expectations placed on others. Often, we also build an idealized version of what a perfect relationship should be. Instant emotional connection, flawless communication, and cinematic chemistry. But the truth is, real relationships are built through intention, listening, and learning to embrace someone for who they are, flaws included. It's absolutely important to set healthy standards. Knowing your worth and refusing to settle is a powerful achievement. The problem begins when those standards become so rigid that no one stands a chance. When the ideal becomes unreachable, we may close the door without even noticing. Picture two women, both single for years. One is clear about what she values, but understands that love involves compromise, learning, and building something together. The other is always searching for someone who checks every box, and the moment something doesn't match, she backs away. Which of them is more likely to experience a genuine connection? Love doesn't live in perfection. It happens when we meet someone whose imperfections we can accept, someone whose presence adds joy to our days. So if you've been wondering why a meaningful relationship hasn't arrived, it might be time to ask, am I really open to connection, or holding on to a fantasy that may never come true? Because sometimes, the right person doesn't show up perfectly aligned. They show up sincerely. And that's enough. As time goes on, something shifts. That pressure to be in a relationship starts to fade. The urgency gives way to calm. After years alone, you learn to value your own company, fill your days with things that matter to you, build meaningful friendships, and pursue goals that rely only on yourself. And that, without a doubt, is one of the greatest victories of this stage of life. Unlike earlier years, when society insisted on finding a partner, settling down, and following a script, this phase reveals that joy doesn't depend on sharing your life with someone. It can live in authentic choices, in your peaceful routines, and in the rhythm you create for yourself. Still, this independence may bring a subtle risk: emotional detachment. Once the comfort of solitude sets in, the thought of dating again can feel unnecessary, even unsettling. The idea of shifting your routine or inviting someone into your space might seem like too much work. You may find yourself wondering, why change what's already working so well? And that's where caution comes in. There's nothing wrong with choosing solitude, as long as it's truly your choice, and not a quiet way of avoiding emotional risk. Sometimes, without realizing it, we build invisible walls and convince ourselves it's just the natural order of things, when deep down, there's still a quiet hope for connection. Think of two women who've lived single for many years. One has created a full life, yet keeps her heart open, willing to welcome someone if it feels right. The other has gotten so used to her comfort zone that she stopped trying, even though she still longs for closeness. Which one do you believe is more prepared to embrace a relationship if the opportunity arises? The answer lies in recognizing the difference between genuine contentment and emotional complacency. Being fulfilled on your own is a kind of strength, but choosing to experience something new, when it feels meaningful, is a form of courage. Because love doesn't take away your freedom, it transforms it. If you've been living alone for a long time, it's worth asking yourself an honest question. Are you truly happy this way, or have you grown comfortable simply to avoid vulnerability? The truth is, a healthy relationship isn't here to fix anything. It exists to complement the life you've built with care. And when your heart stays open, you might be surprised by the kind of connection still waiting to find you, even if you think you've seen it all. As we close this video, take a moment to reflect on the 5 shifts we've explored so far. Did any of them feel familiar? If you've been single for a while, chances are you've experienced at least some of these. Many of them bring growth, wisdom, and inner strength. But it's also wise to recognize when they quietly block new possibilities from entering. Being alone isn't a flaw, and it's not something that needs fixing. In fact, some of the most fulfilled people are those who have mastered the art of being enough for themselves. Still, if there's a part of you that misses companionship, maybe it's time to gently examine some inner walls. Have you built emotional defenses without realizing it? Are your habits so well established that there's no room left for anything new? Could high expectations be preventing you from giving love a fair chance? The encouraging part is that change doesn't require anything drastic. Small steps can open powerful doors, becoming more flexible, practicing emotional expression, taking the risk of a new conversation. Every effort, no matter how small, moves you closer to the kind of connection you long for, if that's what your heart still wants. And the best part? None of this asks you to lose who you are. The right relationship won't diminish your independence. It will add to your life. So if love hasn't arrived yet, Maybe the question isn't whether you're still relationship material, but whether you're still willing to welcome what love might bring. Because when there's space, love has a way of showing up, often when you least expect it. Thank you for being here with us today. Let us know in the comments what touched you most and how you plan to bring that insight into your daily life. Your voice matters to us. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful content to inform and inspire. See you next time.